How's it going, everybody? Moon and Virgo people in the natal chart. I'm a Moon and Virgo person, so this has probably been long awaited, probably for myself more than anyone else. Moon and Virgo people are quiet and reserved, and the reason why they are that way is because they are being analytical. They are studying everything that's around them at all times. It's difficult to pinpoint what an emotion is. So the one way that I can attest to Virgo and Moon people actually feeling emotion is when they help someone do something and, they acknowledge it being done, like it's confirmed that they helped. They are very attentive, and from this they can become critical to the point of being hypercritical, and they can face some type of turbulence because of that. It's up to them whether they learn to curb that for their own benefit or for them to use it in some type of profession to where being attentive is the best thing to do. Routine is big for Moon and Virgo people. However, they can be flexible. You also may see like slight OCD habits going on. Like they really process their feelings. So you may think that they have no emotion at all. And the reason is because they look at the information that is presented to them to determine how they are supposed to feel. They have to process that information and then come up with the solution or come up with the answer to say, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm sad, or I'm supposed to feel sad. And the number one emotion that you can detect from a Moon and Virgo person is probably frustration with the things that they are being critical of. Okay, Moon and Virgo people, when the moon gets inside of the first house, okay, look at it like this. It's a relay race that's about to start. It was just a race that's about to start. The gun goes off, pow, all the runners start running. Moon and Virgo person stands there, okay? Everybody runs around the track, and they come in, and then, they call who the winner is, this, that, and the third, and, people may come to the Moon and Virgo person and say, why didn't you run with the rest of us? And the Moon and Virgo person will say, I'm not supposed to run. I'm supposed to watch you guys run and then tell you how you did when you got back. So that leadership role that you may be looking to see them take action in, that is how they take action. Okay, Moon and Virgo people, when the moon get inside of the second house, this can be difficult for them because that Taurian energy, which is a few attributes that deals there, right? The one that the Moon and Virgo person will embody will be indulging, okay? And that can come from heavy eating. See, Moon and Virgo people are not supposed to eat heavy. They're supposed to eat in small increments at a time, but in a lot of different times. So instead of eating 3 big meals a day, a Moon and Virgo person should eat 6 smaller meals in a day. You understand what I'm talking about? So it's like the reason why they indulge is because they get nervous, they get worried when it comes to the second house because it deals with their personal finances, right? So they're thinking like, second house deals with the plan of action. So they may dip into different things that they're involved in and like go through the whole entire time that the moon is in the second house, going to various different things, trying to determine which ones are the best ones that's going to get them personal finances, okay? So this nervous energy, this worrisome energy that belongs to the Virgo gets exercised here, so they will indulge more excessively in matters that might not benefit them to the utmost. However, at the same time, what they're doing is examining the effects and the influences that happen when the moon is inside of this house, and then they come out of it with a clean bill of health of how they're going to move forward, and they luck up a lot and find out exactly what is more important when it comes to streams of income after it's over. So it's like they use this anxiety, and it's been researched that anxiety actually breeds intelligence. Even though you worry, you come up with this plan that's like looking into the future, and you can determine what it is that's best needed to move forward. Now, Moon and Virgo people, when the moon gets inside of the third house, is fantastic for them because it's communication time and it's learning time at that. So the information that is doused to them in the same way that they give it back is all part of a learning process, and they're mapping it out in their brain. They are meticulous about how they speak to people. They're being careful with what they learn from the second house about personal finances, of how they communicate the information to other people, because what it is that they're doing is they're measuring other people because they want to figure out how they can help these people. They may want to bring them up to the city that they're at, or they may want to travel to the city where their friends are at. Now, Moon and Virgo people, when the moon get inside of the fourth house, Moon and Virgo people, they do care about family members and their relatives and things of that nature. However, they approach that with a critical eye as well. So you may see them being hard on their children, or giving them pull-ups to adhere to things that they would do with their lives and pushing it onto their children and their loved ones. And, it can be seen as an act of love. They have good intentions. However, The hypercritical language, if it appears here, it may be taken out of context, and there may actually be a rebellion against what Moon and Virgo people say. Like, they'll use the same type of energy that should be in a work environment, in a home environment. Now, Moon and Virgo people, when the Moon is inside of the 5th house, this can be a tough time for them because they may not understand what it exactly means to have fun when the Moon is in the 5th house. See, people may associate leisure with, going out and laughing with friends and he. But the Moon and Virgo mind is so analytical that it may look at that actual event or act and say, I don't know if that's going to be a good time or not. That goes against them being reliable. This placement really depends on where your 5th house is in your natal chart, or what sign is in your 5th house in your natal chart. But don't get it wrong, like a Moon and Virgo person can have fun. They just may do it differently. And it could be coming through watching film, or, going to a museum or something, actually watching something, being analytical. Moon and Virgo people, when the Moon is inside of the 6th house, they're home here. This is when they're on their element. This is when they get to strut their stuff. All of the stuff that they've been studying, they've been reading the books on, they've been doing their research for. This is where they get to implement it. And really, in their conversations throughout life, this is how they operate anyway. They always have been talking to people like this, like, how are you doing? They're concerned about other people's well-being, and they want to know how they can help. In whatever way they can help, 9 times out of 10, they will. As long as it, as long as it abides within their guidelines. This is also when they get critical about their health, because this is when they'll start noticing that if their eyes are too big for their stomach, they will take heed to this, and they'll say, well, you know what, something is made my stomach upset, or something is not moving right through my body. And this is where they can do additional research and find out ways that they're supposed to address their body. Now, Moon and Virgo people, when the Moon gets inside of the 7th house, this can go kind of either way, right? Because it's still kind of like work environment, but it's like the upper echelon of the work environment. So what can happen here is they will be shaking hands with potential bosses and stuff like that. And for the most part, a Moon and Virgo person does not need to be micromanaged. They do not need to be looked at as if they do not know how to do their job, because once you teach them or train them what it is that needs to be done, they're going to do it. They're going to pick up on it quick, and they're going to do it with efficiency. You don't have to worry about them. So they can take like hovering around them very wrongly. Like, they can take that to the heart, and it can make them uncomfortable to where they feel that you don't trust them with the task that you've given them. So what happens here is there can be some type of turmoil, because if a boss or someone in management calls a Moon and Virgo person on it, they're going to give them the business. Like, they're going to tell them from A to B, or A to Z rather, exactly what it is that bothers them, exactly what it is that's done wrong, what needs to change. They're going to give them the thorough breakdown, and that can cause conflict when people are looking for you to take orders. Now, with personal relationships, it can get tricky here too. What happens here is they can give off the wrong signal to people when they give them another chance in the romance department, because they'll say, okay, you know what, we didn't get along, or we didn't hit it off right, but we're still cool, or whatever the case may be. We can still talk, you know what I mean? And then the other people think that that's an open door for them to become like that again, and it's really not. They can also push partners away because they are critical, and they may say, well, you should do this and you should do that, because that's the service in them. That's the service orientation that they embody, that says, look, if we're talking and you're telling me things, or I observe things that are detrimental to you or detrimental to your health, I'm going to tell you the things that you need to do or should do to make yourself better. And a Moon and Virgo person is not going to like that you don't adhere to those pull-ups. Sooner or later, they're going to hit you with the, you should do this more. You probably need to run a few laps or something. Like, they'll tell you that. Now, Moon and Virgo people, when the Moon get inside of the 8th house, I would advise for Moon and Virgo people to get higher education. And the reason why I say this is because they come real advanced when they possess education on how discrepancies and dichotomies are in how they take place in life, especially dealing with finances, because the 8th house deals with other people's money. So what happens here is Moon and Virgo people are analyzing everyone that they're having conversations with and that are potential prospects, and it doesn't really matter. They won't judge you as harshly as they would if they didn't possess the education on finances and economics, because they have it now. They are looking at you like, even if you're down here and they're up here, you still have potential. You still are a great prospect. You know what I mean? And vice versa. They also may get kinky here. You know, not like the fifth house, like I said, they kind of struggle in the fifth house when it comes to romance because they're not exactly sure how they're supposed to approach it. But when it comes to the eighth house, they're looking at it from an analytical aspect. You understand what I'm saying? So they're like zoning in on how sex might be. They may ask you some type of weird, like, like weird questions, like, but pertaining to sex, and you may be like, oh, I didn't even know you was like that, like, wow. And don't sleep on people with Moon and Virgo inside of the eighth house when it comes to sex life, because, you know, you may think just because they're analytical and they don't really possess emotion like that they may not know how to interact inside the bedroom, and that could be further from the truth, because they look so much, they're actually looking to perform well. Moon and Virgo people, when the moon gets inside of the ninth house, now you may look at them as being stagnant when the moon gets inside of the ninth house because they're not traveling, but what they're doing is they're analyzing where they are going to travel. And they are real keen when it comes to balancing the budget and stuff like that. So just because they're not going right now, and, you know, everybody may think it's the cool thing to like go to Florida every summer and stuff like that, they're watching. They may not have Florida in mind, or they may have Hawaii in mind, or something that's way out there. From a philosophical aspect, Moon and Virgo people are not too like spiritual. Like, they're not going to take too much time into the being preachy about, what religion is and this, that, and the third. What they will do, however, is look at the facts and say, they may be very scientific about the things that they talk about. Now, Moon and Virgo people, when the moon get inside of the 10th house, it's not difficult for them. It's can make people confused, though, if they're from the outside looking in, because this is where they use variety and they use the mutable energy of Virgo. Okay, so they may be doing different things inside of the 10th house, and they may not necessarily bring income. See, this is where they take chances with the whole doing service for other people things because they may do something that is seems like a hobby because they're not taking payments for it. However, what they're doing is they're testing the market. They're testing the economy to see how people gravitate towards what they're doing. And if they build emotion off of that, like I said, the emotion that they will identify in themselves is when people give them feedback about how they help. Lo and behold, they will have something in the background that they are getting some type of income from. And most of the times it's going to be doing with service, whether it's direct service to people or like doing analytical work, which may be research or even merchandise. Now, when Moon and Virgo people and the moon gets inside of the 11th house, again, this is home for them, depending on the type of connections that they make, because you'll notice that Moon and Virgo people are really, they're reserved. Like, they're kind of shy, and the reason is because, they have this kind of high-strung mentality, right? And they know how that can rub people the wrong way. So sometimes they don't even want to bother with expressing, the things that they do know that they determine is to be on a higher echelon, because people will be ignorant towards it. And they don't want to get into that sparring match and saying something that is just like lowering themselves to that level, And they will even tell you this. They will explain this on social networks or whatever. I'm not even going to explain this to a dummy or something like that. They may just rely on those real close friends that they can say. It may have something to deal with the trip, like they want to go out on a trip somewhere to explore somewhere, and a large group of people may not be with it, or they can't even express why they would want to go, like, be an archaeologist out in Egypt somewhere on a mission, and but they have those close contacts that say, okay, I'll go with you, So it's just like, that 11th house energy, when you deal with networks and bring dreams into fruition, they're pretty careful when they make those decisions. They would like to make them more. And Moon and Virgo people, when the moon get inside of the 12th house, as I said, 12th house can deal with spiritual matters. They will more than likely leave that alone. However, they will pay close attention to other phenomena that can be studied. They will probably sit stagnant when the moon is in the 12th house and let things come to them, so they can determine what is self-destruction and what is something that they should take into consideration for changing in order to advance. It's not an aggressive area for Moon and Virgo people to be in, and it's the mutable energy of the Pisces is there as well, so they're kind of like getting dreamy here and still like more than likely thriving over the energy that they just left in the 11th house that deals with wishes and stuff like that. So they're pretty much studying that, what they just left, and saying to themselves, okay, well, what can I do next to take it to the next level? It's more about intuition.